Hello everybody, my name is Kirilo and today I would like to start a new series called Real Map Talk. In this series, I'll try to talk about every official 1 vs 1 map and explain the decisions. So I hope I will be able to finish it, since we don't really have a lot of 1 vs 1 maps in the official map pool, and it's way more easier than to commentate on my own games. By the way, I failed at doing that. It's just too hard. Alright, so I will start from top left corner and go one by one. One video per map. So we will start with the map called Behind the Veil. It will be relatively easy to explain map decisions, because I created this map. Okay. Let's enable the debug menu and start. So every player starts in the corner, top left or bottom right, and immediately you see some differences here. So if you start in the top left, your ore patch will be here, like near this ridge. If you start on the top right, you see this ore patch. If I would mirror it, it would be somewhere like here. And this is intentional because, as you know, in OpenArray you have this advantage. If you mine ore from the bottom, it's way faster, since your ore truck doesn't have to go circles around the refinery, and it saves you a few cells every time. And in case, for example, if it's like this, it's really terrible. So yeah, mirroring ore was not an option. That's why it's where it is. However, it's still not that balanced in my opinion, even though I created it. I just think that mirroring was not a good idea, and it was worse than what we have now. So let me explain. For example, you have a base here and your opponent attacks you from this area. So, for example, you mine here. You immediately see that your harvesters are vulnerable to attacks. You don't have to enter this base to attack harvesters. Tanks and infantry can really reach them. This is not the case in this spawn point, since ore is very well protected. However, this comes at the cost that if you build buildings, buildable space will eventually run out and you will have to build here. So instead of vulnerable harvesters, you will have vulnerable buildings. But anyway, overall I think it's balanced more or less. Not perfect, but still it works. Alright, so you start here and you have these two choke points. This one is really tiny, and this is for a reason. In the very beginning I created a map called Iron Curtain. It was inspired by a StarCraft map, if I recall correctly, with a similar name. So I tried to port it from StarCraft to OpenArray, and that map was really huge. So in OpenArray it was a 2 vs 2 map. Time has passed and I didn't really like the map. It was just too huge, didn't look very good overall, like not really pretty. So I decided to give it a try and create a new map. And this is the map, Behind the Veil. It's really based on that 2 vs 2 map. And when I initially created Behind the Veil, it was also a 2 vs 2 map. So one spawn was here, the other was here. So you could play left versus right or top versus bottom, but it was intended as left versus right. And if players play like that, if you start, your opponent starts here and you start here, it's obvious that this player has quicker access to this ore patch. Initially there was this area was not passable. So to balance this, I removed the ridge here, and this trail was convenient for your MCV, so you could expand relatively fast instead of going this way, this long way. And it kind of sticked, so this map was too tiny for 2 versus 2, and I decided to move one spawn. Let's just stop this attack so it does not distract me. And yeah. So now it transitioned over to 1 versus 1 meta. And what you can do on this map, which is my favorite strategy, you are not forced to do it, but you place your initial refinery, sorry, initial power plant like this, for example, undeploy and immediately move to this area. Then you will be able to build your ore refinery here and here next to your power plant. I think it's the most viable strategy on this map, but it's not mandatory. The same applies to this side. You can do that as well. One disadvantage is that then you will forget about defending your area. I've seen some games where people forget to defend here, and in the past this was my mistake as well. I remember I lost at least one game because I didn't defend this. So I noticed people started walling off this area in the beginning. So they don't move immediately but start here, build a power plant, refinery, barracks and wall off. This is clever. However, I'm not really a fan of this, since walls are too overpowered. And one of the problems with this map is that some chokes are really choky. You can attack here and here without problems, there is plenty of space, but if you look at this area and this area, it's really hard to attack, especially when people wall off like this. And I like doing this myself, and I've seen people doing that too. So it's really strong, especially if you are allies, you don't have artilleries. It's hard to break through this wall. So I don't think this map is perfect, and I would probably try to reduce this pond and, for example, make this area passable. So like copy this and paste to this. So this should be wider and attacks there should be much more easier. I think it will greatly improve the map. Alright, there are 4 oil derricks, but technically speaking, so every player is supposed to take 2 oil derricks, but technically speaking I think there is only 1 oil derrick on this map, since these oil derricks are really vulnerable and they will be destroyed in the first 10 minutes of the game. I noticed players started using this strategy in the early game. They go here, for example, I go from here to this spot and start force firing like this. What it does is that it kills engineer who is capturing this oil derrick, and these guys, they force fire here. They don't have vision here. Farthest they can see is here, so it's a guesswork. And it wasn't was not intentional, it was discovered by accident, I believe by Andrew, but I'm not sure. Anyway, it's just a nice trick that I was not aware of myself, and it was not planned. So yeah, in the first minutes of the game, this will be gone, so you only have one oil derrick. Probably, I noticed many players starve on this map, and many games are really long on this map. Like, if 2 players are good enough, then games are they will easily be over 20 minutes or maybe 30. So it's clear that there is not enough ore on this map. So one solution I was thinking of is introducing an additional oil derrick. For example, here. I'm not sure if this is the best place, but it's interesting since if you see these ridges, they were built in mind when this map was 2 versus 2. So the idea was that you expand from here to here, your opponent goes from here to here, and then he can use Chinooks, for example, or Chrono Tanks to perform sneak attacks. This was really powerful. However, in 1 versus 1 it's not that powerful anymore, and this area is not actually used at all. So this is a problem of this map. We have some space which is not used at all. So maybe if we had an oil derrick there, it would be much more useful and will give better economy to players. It would still be hard to defend, since you usually build your base here and your army will need to go here to protect. So I'm not sure, but anyway, I can see that not enough ore is a problem, so maybe either one oil derrick or an additional ore mine, for example, here would be good. When this map was 2 versus 2, there was an ore patch here, and it was removed since to prevent base crawling, basically. So you go from here to here, another player goes from here to here, and they start classic base walking. This was intentional, and actually it was not me who removed that, but So Scared. And I fully support that idea. I think it's a good idea. So why would I also remove, shrink this pond, is because it's quite huge and you can build navy. Like, for example, you can build a shipyard here.
Build construction complete.
And by the way, I just noticed here it says shipyard, but here it says naval yard. So you can build a shipyard here, but I've never seen a single game where people do that, and in theory it's possible, like, to build destroyers and harass harvesters on this side if the player walls off, but in practice the problem is that there's simply not enough ore, and you cannot really afford an additional shipyard, a destroyer. Just look at the price of the destroyer, 1k is a lot. So it's viable, but yeah, it's actually something that I intended to do, but since there is not enough ore, nobody does that. So I think maybe the width of this trail should remain, and this map needs additional ore mine, like here, for example, or oil derrick, or even both. Yeah, maybe one oil derrick even here, just since this area is usually not used at all. Like this area and this area, they are not used at all on this map. Also, this area is kind of like, you can place your naval yard here, but it's absolutely useless. Like, from both sides, there is absolutely no reason to do that.
Cancel.
So perhaps this could be redesigned. It's just needed to shrink this trail. So speaking of this trail, I think it's perfectly fine. Maybe it could be wider by one cell, but just one cell. I didn't see any problems with this. So normally, if I attack from the top, go to the bottom, I don't go for this base, but go for this ore patch. It's quicker, easier and much more useful, since this is where the eco is. And this place is usually a bit defended. Probably there could be a wall here, and it's hard to attack this position in general. So if you fortify yourself here, you are pretty... It's not a problem. So yeah, when I was talking about destroyers here, as you can see, this ore patch is really vulnerable to them. However, on this side, again for the same reason, I think it's my mistake, it's really safe to mine here. So if ore was somewhere like, I don't know, like this, like diagonally, so other player could have chances to do the same thing. So it's slightly imbalanced in my opinion, and this needs more work. However, it was not obvious back then, and since this map became popular, it's pretty evident that it needs some work, some additional work. Oh, also I just noticed this road glitch. Wow, never noticed this before. Alright, what else? So on this map, it's really good to tech up and never attack and build an atom bomb, which is AI probably doing. At least he has a tech center. So it's really convenient to turtle here. That's fine by me, since maps have to be different and they have to promote different playstyles. And this map is kind of, well, this word is probably overused by me now, but I would say it's kind of unique. So yeah, I think overall this is a solid map, but it still needs some work. I wouldn't want to attack first on this map, and this is the problem that turtling is so good. It should be a little bit nerfed, but overall it's fine to turtle here, and this was sort of intended, so we could see high-tech games here. I often can see demo tracks on this map. They're so good here because of the chokes, and this is also fine. One last area that I wanted to talk about is this area. When I played this map and captured my both oil derricks, for example, I usually send my engineer to this place. What's the logic here? Well, if my opponent expands to this area and I scout it, like immediately, then I can use my engineer to capture this MCV. I remember in one game I had this opportunity, but I completely forgot about my engineer, so it failed. But overall this area is not very used as well. You can do a drop here, something, and maybe it needs to be opened. Like for example, instead of this water, there should be just a tiny passage. So you have to defend here, because normally when you expand it's just too easy to defend. So this would also nerf turtling on this map, I think. And it will be a good addition. But anyway, before making all these changes, and I will definitely make them, I think before including them into the official map pool, I will test them before. So this map is good, but it can be improved a lot. I think that's all for today, and thanks for watching.